Hmm. Yeah, I don't see any evil around here. Well, good thing the coast is clear. Oh, well, who's that? Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to ignore you. I was just out, looking for evil, but, it's okay. The coast is clear. And you know why? Because me, Turtle Man, is here to protect you guys. That's right. My name's Turtle Man, and I have the quirk of the turtle. Clearly, when I was a baby, a turtle grew out of my forehead and has given me great powers. And you guys want to see what these powers are, right? Okay, I'll show you. Well, if a villain tries to sneak up behind me, well, guess what? I can just do this. And then pop my head back out. Boom. The villain is now disoriented, and I'll take him out with one of my amazing turtle slaps. Just like that. And if a villain tries to chop off all my arms like they do in old anime, they can't do it. Because I'm a turtle man. Now, I know you guys are used to having Nathaniel be your host and talk about anime, but he's in the 5th dimension finding the zombie monsters, and he asked me to fill in, and it's a good thing he did, because he was not doing justice for these quirks in My Hero Academia. I'm sure his fans are sitting there like, well, I mean, he's doing these reviews, and I'm just so confused, like, what are these quirks and their classifications, you know? He never explained them to you guys. Well, I'm here today to give a little demonstration about exactly what our quirks are and how we classify them. That's right, because in the world of My Hero Academia, it might shock you, but there's a total of 3 classifications for quirks. That's right, we're not like lame superheroes that just throw all the superpowers together. I'm like, oh, you guys are all the same. No, we classify them, because that's how fancy we are. So, let's get on into this, but I need to make sure my turtle's nice and snug. And ready to go. Yeah, I mean, he's grown into my head, but he actually moves around. It's another superpower. Like, it scares the villains when it moves like this. Anyways, so let's jump right into it. So, in My Hero Academia, there is 3 classifications. They're emitters, transformation, and mutant. And when I first read about these, I was like, oh, this is going to be really simple, okay? But I went on the wiki and I read them, and the ones that I thought would be mutants were not mutants, and the ones I thought would be transformation were not transformation. So I was just a little confused. It took me a few times to read it, and I got the gist of it down, but there's still a few quirk users, and I'm like, shouldn't they be, like, in this category? It's not like a super, here's the line for each of them. There's a little bit of a gray area, kind of. But anyways, let's jump right into it with the first one. Emitters. Our antagonist is the emitter. Deku, or to be antagonist? Whatever, I don't know, I learned that in English 3 years ago what they actually mean. Deku has the one for all quirk, and it's an emitter. And before I dive too much into this, I'm actually going to use my quirk that was really painful, but yeah, part of my quirk is I can rip this off my head. Anyways, it gets annoying sometimes. So yes, emitters. Their ability is to create a substance from their body or able to change substance around them. This is the easiest one to wrap my brain around, and it's the one, for the people that I thought would be in it, they were in it. This was the least confusing for me. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big fan of One Piece, and this really struck me as a Logia type. And I think it's really cool how in One Piece there's 3 types of Devil Fruit users: the Logia, Paramecia, and Zone type. Anyways, I'm not doing a video of comparing and contrasting. It kind of reminded me of it. So for the emitters, it's those people that kind of create stuff out of their bodies, like substances, people that can create fire, that can create ice, that can create electricity, or people that can change substances. So some obvious people like Todoroki with his half hot, half ice. He creates ice and he creates fire. He is a emitter. Bakugo, who just creates explosions, he changes the substance because he is able to take the sweat and he changes the substance and makes it explode. So he's also emitter. For me, Deku was a little more confusing because he's not someone that's shooting out fire, ice, or electricity, or acid. Those are pretty easy to put onto emitters, but he's not shooting out any of those. He's not changing anything outside of his body. He's actually changing something within his own body, though. It's his muscle mass, his strength, and his stamina. Those are all increasing, so he's still changing something within himself. And emitters, they actually do have a backlash. Unlike mutants, we'll get into later, they have to consciously think about their quirks and when they're using them. So if Todoroki wasn't thinking about it, he would not just have ice flying outside of his arm. He has to consciously be like, I want to create ice, I want it to be this much, and I want it to go this direction. He has to do that. And for pretty much anyone that has the emitter quirk, they have to work on it to get better and better and better. Todoroki, when we saw him, he was already very impressive, but I'm sure he had to work on getting that fine amount of control. And the best example of this would be Deku. At the very beginning, he couldn't control One For All at all, and now finally by Season 3, he can control 5% pretty well. So all emitters, they're the one they have to consciously use their quirk. If they're not trying to use it, it's not using. So if Denkai, the electricity kid, was walking through his classroom, if he was not trying to consciously summon electricity, he would not just zap someone across the room by accident. It has to be something you consciously want to do. And like I said, not only do you have to consciously do it, you have to train your body to get better at it. Reflexes. Just because it's like with basketball. If you're playing basketball, at first you suck. Your reflexes are really slow. People are going to steal the ball from you. You're not going to be able to guard people. But as you play basketball more and learn the skill more, you're going to get a lot faster. Your reflexes, your guarding, your not letting the ball be taken from you. Yeah, guys, I watch anime. I don't watch sports, okay? Get over it. Anyways, so they have to train their quirk and their body, their stamina, to be able to use their quirk really fast and just have good reflexes. Another thing, this is a drawback of it, is user pretty much emits too much of their quirk or overuses their quirk and will have a physical backlash. We haven't seen it with every user, but it's Deku. If he overuses the power, he'll break his arms, he'll break his wrist, because he can't control it. Denkai, if he uses too much electricity, he becomes stupid. Who else? Minato, we've seen if he rips off of the balls on his head too much, he'll start to bleed. So things like that. So there is backlashes from emitters. The biggest thing I would say is they have to consciously use it, and they have to practice with their quirk to get better at it. Granted, everyone has to practice at using their quirk, but these people really have to practice more and more because it's an object that they use that comes out of their body or they create. So they have to get really good at using that and get comfortable with it. And now, like I said, I'm not trying to compare and contrast, but to compare it to a Logia type, it's the same with a Logia type. Logia types, granted, are made out of their element, but they have to consciously change their body into the element. So let's say Ace, if he got shot at from behind the head and he didn't know about it or didn't sense it with his hockey, he wouldn't change into fire and he would be killed. But most people with Logia types are so skilled and adept at using it that their reflexes change without them even knowing. But if you get a Logia type user that doesn't know how to use observation hockey and is not adept at using their Logia type, they're kind of screwed because they can easily be attacked without changing into their more liquidy or whatever form. Anyway, sorry, jumping back. Let's go to the second quirk type, and that is a transformation type quirk user. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing because with your transformation types, I thought there would be some mutants in that and vice versa. Basically, what a transformation quirk user is someone that transforms part of their body into something else or creates something on their body and it turns into something else. So a transformation user might take appendages or limbs that are already on their body and change it into something else. The best example I can think of is Kirishima, hope I'm pronouncing that right, with his hardening quirk. He already has his arms, his chest, his legs, but he can harden his body. He doesn't add extra appendages and then hardens them. No, he just has his normal body and then he hardens those. For the other one that creates extra appendages and then changes them for this transformation quirk, I'm assuming we're all thinking of the same quirk user, and that would be Soji with his dupli arms. And basically, he has these arms, but he can then transform them into different things. Like he has I think he has 6 arms, 3 and 3, but then at the end of this hand, he can turn it into an ear, and the other one, he can turn it into an eye. So that's what I mean by they can already change the stuff on their body, or they can add another appendages and then change those. So, let's say, like I said, I'm only watching the manga. Maybe there will be a quirk like this in the future, but let's say there's a quirk user that can create wings on her back. That would be a transformation because she is creating something, an extra appendages, and then using those. So another example for the transformation quirk is not only can they use existing things on their body, they can add appendages, they also can add features. Like Tokiomi's Dark Shadow, the ones that comes out of his body, that would be a transformation. Granted, it's not like using any extra appendages or other appendages, it's still an extra feature to his body. Now, another thing that comes along with transformation is their drawbacks. There's kind of two big drawbacks, and the first one is they're close combat users. With your emitters, like Todoroki, who can just shoot out ice for like, I don't know, a couple blocks and hit someone over there, or Denkai, who can use electricity and like shoot across the room if he masters it. Transformation quirks usually aren't like that because they're changing your physical body to either be strengthened or adding a new element. Maybe besides Tokiomi's Dark Shadow, there's not a lot of like long distant users, and his Dark Shadow still has a distance. Soto, who has the sugar quirk and that makes his body stronger, yeah, he's just buffed up his body, but if the villain isn't right next to him who can beat him up, it doesn't really do him any good. So that's kind of a drawback just because it doesn't have a lot of versatility. But then the other one is even a bigger drawback. They only transform their body for X amount of time. It's not like Kirishima can turn his skin hard and keep it like that for days on end. No, we see with his fight in the Olympics, when he's fighting, his punches are slowly getting softer because he's getting tired and he's getting weaker and his skin is slowly getting softer and softer. And it's actually stated by Tetsu when he's actually in the same fight and his body turns to iron. He's like, if I don't eat enough iron, my iron is not as hard as it can be, and I won't last as long. So their transformations don't last forever. So those are two big drawbacks. And the other interesting thing about this quirk is it's the least seen quirk in this universe. Emitters and mutants are seen a lot more than transformation. And they're actually considered a combination of both emitters and mutants. And it's because they kind of have the same ability as emitters, as like they can change a substance. But then as far as mutants come, who we're about to talk about next, they have a physical change, which is like mutants, they have mutations, so they kind of have physical changes when they go through their transformations. So that's why they're a combination of both. They have like the look of a mutant, but they kind of have the powers of a emitter, so it's kind of in between. But they're still their own class. Okay, and last but not least for the three categories, we have mutants. And mutants confuse me by far the most, because when I first started watching My Hero Academia, I know I've been pronouncing that wrong this whole time. Anyways, since I've been watching the show, I didn't understand why not everyone looked human. You know, it didn't seem like there were aliens or anything going on. So I'm like, why does that person have a face of a freaking bird? I don't get it. It pissed me off. And so I was just confused. And then when I finally found out about the three categories, I found that there's a mutant category. I was like, of course. Anyone that doesn't look human, mutant. Said and done. You know, close the laptop, call it a good day, go eat some popcorn, go to my work meeting. Sadly, that's not how it actually is. And this frustrated me even more. And basically, the reason that not every person in the My Hero Academia world that doesn't look human is not a mutant is because of mutation, where the word mutant comes from. Let's take Tokiomi. He's going to be our guinea pig for the day. Let's take Tokiomi. Okay, he is technically, if you go on the wiki and look up his quirk, he is a transformation, okay? So I was sitting here thinking, well, if his quirk is a transformation, why in the world does he have a mutant head? That doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, mutations. Basically, how this function is, in the My Hero Academia world, there's been quirks for a few generations now. And let's take Tokiomi. Let's say his great-great-grandfather had the quirk of the bird quirk. And it caused his grandpa to be a mutant and have the head of a bird and was able to fly and was able to peck people really hard and be super annoying like, you know, birds are. Now, let's go 3 generations down. His parents have Tokiomi. There's a mutant that happened when he was born, and there's a mutation, when he was born, and he gets the appearance of his great-great-great-grandfather's quirk of a bird, but he doesn't get the powers of his quirk, because the Dark Shadow power, that is a transformation, but he still has the appearance of a mutation quirk. So that means people out there that have like the head of a dog or the head of a dolphin, it doesn't particularly mean they're a mutant. They could still have a emitter or transformation quirk. It just means someone somewhere in their lineage, some of their great-great-grandfather or grandmother had a quirk that was like that, and they just got the appearance of it. So that's what that means. So that really just threw my head for a loop. So now that we have all that cleared up, and we can't just say anyone that doesn't look human is a mutant, but we can say if you look human and have no mutations, you're not a mutant. Because basically what a mutant is a quirk that has any physical mutation that assists their power. Tokiomi's bird head doesn't assist his dark shadow at all. Therefore, he's not a mutant. His dark shadow is his quirk, and it is transformation. So he is a transformation quirk. He is a transformation quirk. However, for mutant, the one that we all think of probably the most is Froppy. Yes, I'm referring to her as Froppy because in my last video, I literally destroyed her name. I looked up YouTube videos to listen to it. I looked up pronunciation videos to listen to it. I could not do it. I could not pronounce her name, so we're calling her Froppy. And let's all agree that is cuter anyways. So, when we think of a mutant, we all probably go to Froppy right away because that's a very easy thing to think of as a mutant. She has all the characteristics of a frog. It even says that on her title card when it explains her quirk. She can do anything a frog can do. So, she physically looks different. She has a long tongue. She has, I think, her fingers and toes. She just has 3 or 4 of them, and they're really big. And just her whole kind of face is sunken down. So Froppy has the appearance of a frog, and it helps her use her powers. It is not just a useless aesthetic thing, and it's also not a hindrance. Her frog appearance is helping her with her quirk, so therefore she's a mutant. So the kind of definition I gave it is mutant quirks are any physical mutation that are around 24/7 that help to improve you using your quirk or help your quirk. So if you have a bird head, but you can't do anything with your bird head, it's not a mutant. So now that we kind of define what a mutant is, let's talk about some of the more specific things about them. And the most specific thing that sets them apart than any other category, or the other two, is that they're around 24/7. When it comes to their appearance, it's a mutation. They can't help it. Like with the transformation, they can call it on at any point they want, but they cannot make it stay forever. That was the backlash of it. With this one, it's around 24/7, 365. It's just part of your body. You have to live with it. So like Koji's, his long tail, I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but anyways, he can't make that tail go away. When Aizawa uses his quirk and erases all the teenagers' quirks, his tail doesn't just disappear. No, it stays there. So that is probably the biggest difference. A mutant's look will always stay there. Now let's go back to Tokiomi. When Eraser uses his quirk, his dark shadow will not work, but his head will stay the same because it is a physical mutation. But that physical mutation does not help his power. Sorry, I probably just drilling this in long enough, but it just took me forever to wrap my head around. So, let's go over what we learned. A mutant is a mutation that causes a physical difference, and that physical difference will help their quirk, and this physical abdomen or whatever it may be is around for 24/7. You can't make it go away. And last but not least, they're probably the most common quirk. I don't want to say they're the weakest, but I would probably, in just my opinion, say they're the weakest. Like Koji's tail or Froppy's frog ability. Well, granted, she uses it quite well. I just feel like, yeah, it's really useful, but it's nothing OP that you will ever be able to use to take down a huge villain. That's just in my opinion. I love Froppy and everything. But anyways, that is it for the mutant classification. So basically, that sums up all 3. Sorry if it wasn't super specific. If you guys have any questions, just shoot them down below. But that pretty much sums it up for this video. And I totally meant to talk about this at the beginning, but I forgot. I think I'm going to sit here from now on. I mean, Nathaniel will sit here. Clearly, I'm still Turtle Man. But Nathaniel was just telling me how he kind of thinks his other videos with him just sitting on his bed was too bland because he doesn't have any posters or anything back up here. But if you guys can see, I know my camera sucks. I have a picture of Luffy and then of Ace. I have a lamp. I have some elephants up there. That's my TV. my violin. I guess you can't see it. But anyway, so yeah, this is it for my video on the 3 categories of Quirk users. Hope you guys have a great afternoon. Love you all. And remember, if you're ever in help, just call for Turtle Man. Turtle Man!